Okay, before we get into kind of some of the newer detaily stuff this week, I first want to do a quick video on just kind of combining objects and making them one mesh, not just one object, but one mesh. So the example here is on this kind of blocked-in robot model is this hand. We've got this kind of three-prong robot hand receptacle type situation. And what I'd like to see is these four objects as one mesh. And so what I want to do is just kind of go through the workflow of how I would do that. First, let me just point out probably the biggest issue with this is that there's way too many edge loops. We've got the default 20 edge loops around all of the cylinders, which, while yes, you can certainly do that many and connect them all, it's really more effort than it's necessary. It can be done in a simpler way. So that is why I have this file eventually, as soon as Maya quits. There we go. That's why I have this file. So I've already started a little bit. I've created this first cylinder with, 12 subdivisions. And then I've got this cylinder which has 8. I have positioned the cylinder so that it is exactly level with the top face of the, we'll just call this the palm for lack of a better word, and we will call this finger. Okay. So I think on the other robot they were not perfectly symmetrical, and they by no means have to be perfectly symmetrical. But they can be, and so I'm going to do that. So I'm going to take this cylinder and I'm going to move it out a little bit. All right, and then I'm going to, let's see, how do I want to do this? I'm going to turn on grid snapping, hold down the D key to move my pivot point. I'm going to snap it to the center of the grid. Then I'm going to go into duplicate special. And I want 3 total, so that means I want 2 copies. And I want them to be perfectly even in a radial sort of way. So that means I need to rotate them 120 degrees because 360 divided by 3 is 120. I'll click duplicate special, and there we go. Lovely. So now I've got them all. And the wonderful part about the number of edge loops that I chose is that these edges line up nicely. It's kind of an accident, but the main calculation to consider is that I've got 12 subdivisions around this cylinder, and 12 divided by 3 is 4, which is a nice whole even number. So that makes that easier. Also looking at these cylinders, they are probably a little bit too large. So I'm going to scale them all down to like 0.8. Well, not on the y-axis, just on the x and the z. So 0.8 there, and actually, you know what? Because it's going to scale it down to the center. Do one at a time. So 0.8 and because it's going to scale towards the pivot point. Okay, I'm going to undo, and I'm going to undo the duplicate special. And I'll tell you why in a second. A reason is because you see how this cylinder is going outside of these lines. Just for sake of ease, I'm going to scale the radius down so it stays inside those lines. Just make it a little bit easier. And I'm also going to move it a little bit further away. Whoops, turn off grid snapping. Although I think where that's at is fine. Okay, now I can go back and duplicate special. And it's going to remember my settings, so that's good. So now what I need to do is I need to create the geometry on the palm so that I can connect them easier. And the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to select this top face area, and I'm going to extrude it, and I'm just going to deal with the offset. So I'm going to, whoa, I had an extra thing selected, so I'm going to undo. I want to undo far enough back that it says it undo the extrude. Okay, deselect those. If I don't undo far enough back, then that extrusion will still be there, and it will cause problems in the future, as I'm sure many of you have already discovered. So, make sure I only have that selected. Extrude face, adjust the offset. I'm going to basically create an edge loop on the outside of the cylinder placement. Then I'm going to hit G to repeat the last action. I'm going to adjust the offset again, bring it into about the center of the cylinders, and then once more G and adjust the offset and bring it into the inside of the cylinders like so. Okay. Now I can combine all of the objects into one, and I can delete these faces. Whoops, just these faces. And I actually need to delete the faces. What happened there? I think I had an extra face selected. I'm just going to ignore that for now. I think I had an extra face selected on the cylinder. I need to delete the bottom faces of this cylinder too, so I'm going to select those faces and hide them so that I can more easily select those faces and delete them. Okay, so now I can show last hidden. Show me those again. Now, I could just bridge these right away, but I know I'm going to want an extra control loop, so I'm going to select this bottom edge loop, and I'm going to extrude it out and just scale it along the X and the Z. Give that little lip. Okay, and then from there I can bridge. So now I can select that as well, shift right click and bridge. And that doesn't quite do what I want, so looks like we have to do a couple edges first just to straighten it out. Okay, now I can select that, deselect the two sides, and bridge that. Okay, so now we've got all quads, even connections. We'll need to add one more edge loop right there just to keep that transition soft, and probably one up there as well. Okay, and now you can see that's how you can create them all as one object with good clean edge flow. The last little bit is to fix the fact that one, this is wrong because we got that weirdness, and also maybe I don't want to do that 3 times in a row. Well, we can use duplicate special again. So the way that we'd have to do that is we need to delete everything but that. Okay, so we do that, we select that in object mode. We need to make sure that our pivot point is in the center, and it is. Then we go back up to duplicate special, and that all looks good. And we click duplicate special. So now we've got 3 objects. So the last thing that we have to do is combine them, and we can say, I'll merge the UV sets. We'll just say apply and close. And then we just have to, where is it? Mesh and clean up. And we can, actually I don't think that's going to merge them together. Let's see. Let's see, I don't think that's gonna, no, that doesn't. So I'd probably just go in and mesh and merge. Then as I select the cross, I can hit G to repeat the last action. Just make sure as you're, oops, those are already, there's only one there. Just make sure as you're doing this that you're not selecting anything underneath accidentally, because that would certainly ruin your day, really. So we do all of that, and now we can see that they are in fact connected, and we've got a lovely piece of geometry. And we can smooth it out, and that's that.